much do you value the green spaces where you live? If someone wanted to bulldoze one of those spaces and cover it with houses, would you stand up? Would you fight? That's what campaigners in Middlesbrough are doing as they fight to save the Longridge wood in Marton. Protesters want the area to have village green status, but Middlesbrough Council plan to build 80 houses there. Our reporter Emma Borthwick is at Longridge Woods this morning.
Good morning, Matthew. I'm stood just on the edge of the wood. Now, it's not a very big space, and I can see the road Staton Way from here, but it's a quiet area and the birds are singing. You may even be able to hear them. And if I look along the dirt track that's become a path, I can see silver birch trees with the white birch and lots of shrubs, and behind me the sun's just starting to peek through the clouds. People in the houses around me have been looking out their windows at the deer here, and I imagine it's quite a safe place for children to play. Now, I'm joined by Councillor Chris Hobson, who represents Marton West and is the campaign leader, one of the campaign leaders, and Craig Hornby, who's the campaign filmmaker. Chris, it's not a very big space. Is it really worth the fuss?
It certainly is. It's our green space. It is a place where people come for tranquility. They go to work and work hard and come out here and have a walk on an evening, get rid of the stress. The children come out here and play and enjoy the green space. They climb the trees, they ride the bikes through it. They just love it. Everybody around here loves it, and we've got a fantastic backing on this.
Craig, you have to appreciate there is a need for housing, though.
There is a need for housing. The problem is the council's done a development planning document, a core strategy, and the government inspector has just responded and said that they've oversubscribed 300 dwellings. So they're over. And it also says, I will quote from it, I'm content that the development planning document provides a 5-year supply of housing without the need for the release of a further strategic greenfield site. So there you go. There's too many houses planned. Middlesbrough's got his green space is 10 times below the national average, and what they're doing with this, David Budd, the Mayor and Middlesbrough Council have no integrity for all their green speak, endless reports of action plans and rhetoric. It means nothing.
Chris, is there a compromise to be had?
I don't think there is a compromise, to be truthful. We've been fighting for this for 3 years, as now. It was March 2005 when we started. I don't think there is a compromise. It's a small area that the people use, the people love, and we just want to keep it. If it had been flat and there'd been no trees on it, we would have said, go on, build your 72 houses, because it is a maximum of 72 houses in the document. And we would have said, just build on it. It's the trees. We have only 1% of tree cover in Middlesbrough, which is 10% below the national average. We need to keep these trees. They're taking trees out in Middlesbrough. They're not putting trees in.
Well, stay with us there, because in the studio we've got Councillor David Budd, the Executive Member for Regeneration, who joins me live. Good morning to you, David.
Morning, Matthew.
Some very clear attacks on you and your policies, and this document that was quoted saying that you've oversubscribed by 300 dwellings. It seems like a very strong argument from their side of the fence.
It seems like it, but of course Craig has misquoted that document. What he said was that the inspector felt that there was no need for a strategic greenfield site. This is not one of those. What that document was talking about was a very large new greenfield site. This has been a development site for in the region of 30 years now, so it is not a greenfield site. In planning terms, this has always been development land.
Yeah, but hang on, things change within 30 years. We hear from the ward councillor there that it's used for children to play on, for people to walk and enjoy. It's a tranquil place, says this councillor, and one that the residents love and want to keep.
Well, two aspects to that, really. The Village Green Inquiry, where we got a result last week, was very, very plain in its judgment, and suggested that quite a lot of the information that had been given was simply not true. The judgment, which is only 30-odd pages, and I assume was being read by Chris and Craig, is quite damning, really, and comes down very firmly on the side of the council's case. The other element, I think, that Chris mentioned, a compromise. Effectively, there already is one of those. Quite a large part of this site, which forms the edge of Marton West Beck, will not only be left alone, and that's the area where the mature trees are, not only will it be left alone, but it will actually be enhanced by the funding that comes from selling this site. So the compromise is already there.
Could you just go back to this document that you said was untrue? Where did that document come from?
No, what I'm suggesting is that Craig's interpretation of it is untrue. The document is a reply to our development framework, effectively, which sets out where land for housing will be for the next 5 years.
What about the consultation? The ward councillor is saying people want it. It's her job to represent her constituents, and she's very clearly saying that.
Absolutely, yes, she's doing her job. Craig has a great deal of passion for the area, and he's doing his job. But I think in this case they're both rather mistaken. Hornby has been developed for 25, 35 years and probably has more green space in it than I think any other comparable development anywhere. People in that area have access to Gunnigat Park, Martin West Beck, Lingfield Farm, Bonnie Grove Park, Stewart Park, and many, many informal green spaces as well. It has won awards for the way in which it has been developed. I think in many other places, Martin West Beck would have been culverted, concreted over, and have houses over it. That has never been our intention.
Let's go back to the woods then and hear your reaction to that, Councillor Chris Hobson.
Well, firstly, I'd like to say about the core strategy that Councillor Budd has just quoted of being a large area. The core strategy actually says that we should not build on peripheral greenfield sites. Secondly, I would like to say that the more you build, the less green space we've got. And as you say, Councillor Budd, and have said for quite some time, this is the last green space in Martin West, not at Hornby Newham. As you say, the compromise that you are offering us just is the fact that there are sewers and services underneath the land that you are offering us, and therefore it cannot be built on.
Can I just come in here? Councillor Budd, can I just ask you, sir, and listen to this. The majesty of an oak tree, the elegance of a silver birch enrich our daily lives, and their beauty can relieve the dullest of days. And it's well known that trees are in the front line of tackling global warming. Do you know where that quote came from?
Go on.
It comes from the current edition of Middlesbrough News. There you go, 500 trees behind me that are going to be bulldozed. And I guarantee, Mr. Budd, Mr. Mallon and Middlesbrough Council that I will film, if you go ahead with this, from the first chainsaw to the last bulldozer, so that your vandalism will be disgraced on YouTube forever.
Okay, Councillor Budd.
Yeah, sustainability is a rather broader issue than Craig would have us believe. Sustainability is about building houses in Middlesbrough for people who want them in Middlesbrough. It is not about building them 20 miles away in North Yorkshire, where people will have to commute in all the time. Sustainability is a very, very broad subject, and Craig seems to be picking little bits that suit him.
Is this a done deal?
Yes.
When will the chainsaws come in?
I don't know that.
This year?
I would think so, yes.
So the fight's over then, Councillor Chris Hobson?
No, the fight is certainly not over. If they look at all the documents that they have produced, the local area agreement, the core strategy, the regional spatial strategy, the green spaces strategy, the play strategy, and many, many more, every single document is against building on Site 44, and we will fight them, and we will keep fighting them, and we have various ideas on which way to go. So it is not over. It is definitely not over.
Well, Councillor Chris Hobson and Craig Hornby, thank you for joining us there, and thank you, Councillor Budd, for joining us in the studio this morning. This is BBC Tees, updating the news every 15 minutes.